Warning: the following will contain mature topics. Warning: the following will contain spoilers. Tsundoku, noun, language of origin, Japanese. Meaning: the act of acquiring books but allowing them to pile up unread.
2020 has been a spectacular dumpster fire, but with the downtime came some time to look at some Blu-rays that hit the shelves. Without further delay, let's take a look back at the disc I actually got a chance to watch and give my thoughts on over 2020. We're time trip dreaming, and it's time for a stack flashback.
Comics, games, animation, and a variety of henshin credible superhero shows from Japan. Chad Bonin guides you through the Tsundoku Zone.
Come here, kite, yushe, kite.
I don't understand you.
Huh?
With America reacquainting itself with Ultraman in the past year, we've got Mill Creek Entertainment releasing the old and new series on Blu-ray, Marvel Comics diving into Tokusatsu comics once again with new books, and Shout Factory streaming the franchise moving forward on the Tokusatsu streaming service. That's not even bringing up the various adaptations coming straight from the source. To celebrate this, Ultraman Day was held on July 10th in honor of the first television appearance of Ultraman. Japan had a preview of the Ultraman series air on that day, and while this would normally just be a special feature on an Ultraman box set, Mill Creek decided to place a special on its own disc, paired with 7 dual-language episodes in color. The main event is a press conference/stage show that introduces Ultraman to the already existing world of Ultra Q. In it, the Monster Master A.G. Tsuburaya unleashes monsters old and new on a stage. After the cast sings the theme song, monster thieves attack the studio, hoping to capture a monster for presumably nefarious purposes. To take out the thieves, the world would need someone more badass than Ultra Q. After some hijinks with a pig, monsters are unleashed on the stage and Tsuburaya needs help. Enter the Science Special Search Party, including their young stalwart friend / rip-off a snapper car. The heroes fight with minimal luck, but end up calling this brand new hero, Ultraman, to the stage. After some poor camera angles, Ultraman takes about a pre-recorded footage when he grows to take out the monster. With the threat contained, it's both revealed that the thieves wanted to steal a monster for a kid, and that this isn't the real Tsuburaya, because he's too fat. All that leads to a preview of the first episode and the beginning of decades of Ultraman-helmed heroism.
You have to keep it a secret, though. It's just between us, don't forget.
The rest of the disc is dual-language assorted adventures of the SSSP and their hero, Ultraman. While I've seen these episodes years ago on their original release, it's always entertaining to watch the early physical special effects coupled with outdated social norms.
Captain, I think Fuji must be hearing voices inside her head.
Impossible.
Listen, even though Fuji is one of us, we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that she's a girl, and they're very hard to figure out, aren't they?
I heard that, Ito, and I'll argue about it someday.
Uh-oh.
Tsuburaya was truly a master of real-world special effects, and back in the day when computer-generated ones were unheard of, and visual effects in post were rare, it's amazing to see the detail on Blu-ray of these early models, sets, and the like.
Let's give this another try. This time you'll be on my shoulders.
No way. I know.
I'm not your teacher anymore.
Yeah, I know that too.
I'm trying to say is... My bra! Why of all things did you choose something so risque? What? No way! Teachers mustn't fool around with their students, right?
The demon teacher Kana, the sweet and petite Mayu, the brash and sunburnt Hikari, the icy and unemotive Chizuru. These 4 teachers are at the crux, and are theoretically the titular characters of Why the Hell Are You Here, Teacher? All four are superiors to their teenage high school boys, either direct teachers or other kinds of faculty. Also, by all accounts, all four are sexual predators in most of the United States.
Why not do what I do? I always carry age of consent, state-by-state guide.
14 in Idaho? How did I ever live without one of these handy cards?
I can't pretend to have a significant grasp of Japanese age of consent laws, but by virtue of all these women being in a position of power over the boys, it makes it a generally uncomfortable series if you focus on that aspect. Now, if you watch it from the angle of a penthouse letter, it becomes a completely different beast.
It started pouring. Now I'm soaking wet.
Oh, you don't say. I totally couldn't tell.
In the vein of the wish fulfillment letters of, you'll never guess what happened to me when my teacher sent me to detention.
With handcuffs. Oh, why'd you put them on me?
Dear Matsukaze, despite your age, you've gone out of your way to wear a school uniform. You must really have it bad for that Suzuki guy, huh?
What? Oh, what are you talking about?
The series focuses on the largely accidental incidents between the male student and the female adult. Why have I not mentioned the male names? No, this isn't a meta aspect where you don't mention the name of children involved in crimes, though I should totally claim that, but the characters are so generic that they're unremarkable. You could show an average animation fan the four leads and tell them that they're all stars of an isekai adventure series, they're all the civilian identities of a Super Sentai pastiche, or that they're all disposable main character tropes for a harem series. The latter is most likely the most accurate. They're generic enough that the viewer, if one is so inclined, can imagine themselves in the role. Whether one's more mousy or more mature, generic, their personalities are not important. For the women leads, they all more easily fall into harem tropes. Kana is largely the tsundere lead, not that she really likes her target of choice, but she's a friend of the family outside of work, so they just may as well see each other every once in a while. Mayu's the pancake order of choice, a short stack that will be a little sweet. There's a bit of a little sister vibe, which is odd given her age of years older than her teenage compatriot. When it comes to loud and boisterous, Hikari's your woman.
I put all the flavors together in a suicide. I bet it's gonna be awesome.
Doubt it.
It's friggin' awful. Here, you can have it.
Definitely the teasing older sister trope. She likes messing around more than the other teachers, and having known her mousy partner for years, feels as if she can get away with more physical education than schools should have on their syllabus. Lastly, both in this coverage and in the actual series, is Chizuru, the school nurse that should know that her kid is still a growing young man and shouldn't be exposed to these pressures. Quiet and serious, she's the ice maiden trope.
Oops. I've fallen and I can't get up.
Wait, why the hell are you here, teacher?
Throughout the series, it's hard to say that any of the characters truly get an appropriate love story. There's no real dates, where the characters sit down and talk about a mixture of their mutual and unique paths in life. By and large, the events of this series involve the two characters being thrown into a vaguely private location together, invariably leading to an accident or a slight that 1. Reduce the clothing of the female lead, 2. Reduce the distance between the male and female lead, 3. Makes you incredibly embarrassed to be seen watching this.
Hey, what's going on here? Huh? Why is this woman's clothes all messed up? You don't seem like a couple. Looks to me like a public groping incident.
What? No! Officer, please, I can explain!
On that account, if you're looking for a fan service / harem series, this delivers on all cylinders. If you're coming at this looking for 4 stories of love without the limitations of age, you are going to be slighted. Beyond the problematic concept of the series, one issue is that it really watches as if it's 4 different short stories. The character interactions and crossovers are minimal and almost feel tacked on, and there's no wildcard scenario where you see the pairs jumbled up, for example. All the characters are defined by how they interact with their gender opposite, and not by who they are on their own. There's no extra depth to be found when the mousy character is intimidated by the stark Chizuru, and we never see the mature teenager have to handle the immature PE teacher. The Blu-ray tells a much more modest affair than the show's actual content leads you to. For extra features, there are variants on the opening and endings, and an exclusive 13th episode that didn't stream. Notably, the special episode has the cast all interact with one another, something that only happens in passing for most of the series. A slipcover and reversible art inside the case try to give a bit more, but this is about as bare bones as you can get an anime release nowadays.
Looks like they're here. Hey!
That maybe. What? That I'm totally awesome? I know!
I should call you Senpai. It's crazy. It started pouring out of nowhere.
You should know better by now.
Both Your Name and Weathering With You are visual treats, great works that largely stick to hand-drawn animation and show why that still matters in the 21st century. There's a true image excellence in these films that isn't replicated by the best current American animation has to offer, and that's immediately discrediting the glut of films that are meant to sell toys and fart jokes to children. For many, Makoto Shinkai is the new voice of Japanese animation, pairing with Mamoru Hosoda and carrying the torch from luminaries like Hayao Miyazaki, effectively retiring, and Satoshi Kon, taken from us way too soon. This is not to discredit the teams that work with them, but it's as easy to point at the work of these directors as much as it is a Brad Bird or Gendy Tartakovsky work. The work is so tied up in the writer-directors that it's hard not to see it as a singular vision, though clearly talented teams of animators, background artists, and the like support the theatrical superstructure. Weathering With You is not the movie that made me cry in theaters, and is not the movie that pumped me up in theaters. It's a perfectly fine movie when it comes to the story. Focused on Hodoka, the story is set in a year where Japan has been overwhelmed by constant rainfall. The boy, having escaped to Tokyo for unspecified reasons, tries to survive by his wits alone, but finds that the only way a teenager can fly under the radar of the police is with a little bit of help from both a magazine publisher that he has a chance encounter with.
I see. Well, if you ever need help, feel free to reach out. See you around, little man.
And a McDonald's employee who takes pity on him.
Sorry, what's this?
It's for you, but don't tell.
But what for?
Take it, unless you want to have chowder for dinner again.
Seriously, it's McDonald's. Like Mac and Me, this is a legitimate McDonald's restaurant introduced as an early plot point. Complicating matters is the fact that Hodoka both found a gun and was stupid enough to keep it on him. Real talk, this is one of the moments where the movie goes from an internationally balanced movie to one that clearly was not made with the American audience in mind. The implication is that, in Japan, being caught with a gun would be a horrifying situation. Hodoka's run-in with Hina at the fast food chain leads to their paths crossing one more time when Hodoka attempts to save her from a questionable situation. Naturally, this leads to Chekhov's gun being fired and an escape from everybody in earshot.
You really are dumb.
From here, the cast of characters find themselves in a comfortable status quo. The magazine publisher that saved his life earlier, Keisuke Suga, has hired Hodoka to be an assistant and gopher at his business alongside Natsumi, the Greendale Community College student, if being voiced by Allison Brie is any indication. Hodoka lives at the office and works for them, but his true passion lies in helping Hina and her brother, young playboy Nagasa, with their new side hustle.
What a player!
Ooh, did you curl it? Do you like it like this? I do. It's super cute.
As referenced early on, Hina has the power to pray for the sun and actually have it appear. The kids find themselves exploiting Hina's supernatural powers to save the day for various citizens of Tokyo for a nice little paycheck. Their journey takes them from outdoor markets to wedding venues, and even past the cast of Your Name in 2 neat little cameos.
Good luck, okay?
Any situation where you think you need some sunlight to make your day perfect, they'll be there. Naturally, this bit of magic comes at a cost, and therein lies the conflicts and climax of the last third of the movie.
Thank you so very much.
It's amazing how a simple thing like the weather can affect our moods.
The movie's general plot is great. Pacing may have its issues, as it seems to go on just a little too long near the end. What the movie does with the characters is disappointing though. Nearly every character's backstory is hinted at, but not fully explored. Entertaining characters like Natsumi and Keisuke are supporting characters for sure, but we do see glimpses of their lives that make us want more. Hodoka has main character syndrome, in which he is really being heroic in all his actions, but comes off as a little bit too valiant for the audience to truly root for him. Holding onto the gun is generally just a boneheaded move, and his petulance at times really does hammer home the point that he's a pubescent adolescent who really doesn't know what to do in these situations where he's clearly not a child, but can't make adult decisions.
I'm not going back. Let's run away!
The biggest flaw is that Hina is barely a character in the movie. Sure, she's easily in 2/3 of the movie, and justifiably missing in the other third, and much of her missed opportunities at characterization come from the fact that the character has multiple mysteries, both from Hodoka and the audience throughout. But she's the prize.
Hodoka? What are you looking at?
I'm not looking at anything!
She was nice to Hodoka with a hamburger, but at no point do we get an actual idea of what their relationship is. Being saved by a person from a bad situation doesn't mean the relationship is rock solid. It means they were helped out. Being encouraged to take a skill and turn it into a business doesn't mean the relationship grew. It means they were encouraged by a friend. If the movie was from her perspective, her plot can be summed up as, the runaway kid you gave a Big Mac to just pulled a gun on some people in Tokyo and now wants to hang out at your house and help you use your talents to make money. Does that sound normal? Much of this can be chalked up to teenagers being the worst, and, obviously, teenagers don't always get involved in healthy relationships. Actually, maybe that just means the movie's accurate in its depiction of teenagers.
ask you something?
The combined extras rival the movie's actual length, and much of it comes straight from Japan. Makoto Shinkai is clearly the focus of much of the disc, as the movie is largely his vision through and through. There's both a collection of interviews with the director and an expansive special that goes over an hour, with television host Yumiko Udo seeing the production throughout and interviewing the director, and Yojiro Noda of the band Radwimps. As the feature goes into production, Shinkai actually shows off the originally planned ending to the movie that was scrapped. The director also talks about how the ever-evolving climate crisis had impacted the movie after the scripting stage. About every possible trailer and TV spot for the film has been collected here, a treasure trove of marketing media. Likewise, a guided tour of the director's work isn't much more than slides and trailers, but it's a great peek into the other titles you might have missed, and a clear indication of the creator and medium's visual evolution over the years. Lastly, a standard fluff special from the release of the movie in Japan talks about the theatrical release and features a bit more of a focus on the voice actors over the other features.
So, what if we're looking for somebody who's like all for one?
Oh, come on, there aren't any villains on this island.
We did it!
Whoa, are you okay?
There's only one way we can stop him. Delaware Smash! Air Force!
Weaponized blasts of air. An interesting use of your quirk.
The heroes of Class 1A are given a special task to be the personal heroes of an island of 1,000 citizens. It's a simple and small island where the most a hero is needed for is a bit of lost luggage hunting and minor crimes. Should be easy, right? When a new villain sets his sights on the island and two particular inhabitants, the students find themselves having to hold off the forces of the League of Villains. Without a quick rescue from more established heroes, 9, the power-stealing villain, is a prominent match for the children and leads to a war of attrition over the night. Aided by 3 associates, he's out to gain the ability that a small child has, that of cellular regeneration. If granted this power, 9 would become unstoppable. All the student heroes manage to get a few scenes of focus, whether it be from their peaceful heroism starting point, or the damaging battle that ensues once 9 and his team appears.
Alonzi can't stop twinkling, it's my supernova!
This focus on the students, the introduction of 4 brand new villains, and 2 children means that, outside of minimal appearances, the adult heroes are largely absent. As the main character of the franchise, Midoriya gets the bulk of screen time and significant story beats that would have large implications if not reversed by the end of the movie. Bakugo, the anti-hero of the franchise, features as the second lead of the movie and runs into the same issues as Midoriya. The plot advances for his character are completely reversed by the end of the movie.
He's crazy strong!
Limited on how much plot it can actually feature over a theatrical movie that introduces a half dozen characters, the cast is frequently separated for large battles, where they can each get a few particular moves in. It's a highlight reel of their characterizations and powers, and not an in-depth character study. Where the movie truly shines is the focus on how Midoriya could truly be the greatest hero the world would ever see, and it's his dedication to justice at the cost of his own benefits. Threatened by the onslaught of 9's abilities and with a young child on the line, Midoriya and Bakugo put their best moves forward and come up short. When faced with utter defeat, Midoriya makes the penultimate sacrifice and passes his one-for-all ability to Bakugo. Granted both the ultimate superpower quirk and his own explosive one, and with Midoriya retaining one-for-all for a little bit, the pair can combine their forces to fight back. Is it a great concept for a theatrical film? Undoubtedly. Does this completely get reversed by the end of the film? Sadly, yes. This is the struggle of any movie adaptation of a TV show. Does it impact the story or not? While 9 and his team of warriors are an appropriate threat for the children, their motivation is minimal and backgrounds are sparse. Only a small amount of flashbacks are available. 9 is presented at the end of the day as a force of nature, versus a villain that would be able to handle his own storyline. His support team? It'd be hard to tell you their names or reasons for fighting without looking at notes. Lastly, the children in this movie are, well, every children you've ever seen in an action movie. A little spunky, but genuine enough that you do hope the hero saves them from the threats. The movie stands alone, but that's both its greatest strength and weakness. It's not hard to use the movie as a bit of an introduction to the wide range of students, but it's also a bit too broad for fans versed in the franchise.
What are you doing, real hero work?
Talk out there, right? That this movie was originally one of the planned endings for My Hero Academia.
Right.
And it was something I had thought about once was, wouldn't it be crazy
It may be a bit cruel and heavy-handed to say there's nothing special about this release, and that's why I point out that the movie came out in October 2020 on this Blu-ray digital DVD combo. It's commendable that a special feature focusing on the US voice cast produced in 2020 happened at all, given how this year keeps going. Likewise, the inclusion of a handful of trailers for the Japanese release are appreciated. But this is a major movie based off a major anime and manga franchise. Could there not have been more to toss on the disc? No interviews with the creator in Japan? No Japanese voice cast appearing on some small talk show? No discussion with the production crew? In a world where Promare and Weathering With You go above and beyond, it's disappointing that this release isn't very plus ultra. One aspect hinted at in the interview with the voice cast that would be fascinating to hear from the source is that the movie features elements that were meant to be used in the eventual series finale. Undoubtedly, this is likely in reference to the fact that Deku grants Bakugo the power of One for All, which could theoretically be seen as the fulfillment of Deku's opening narration.
The story of how I became the world's greatest hero.
It could also be a reference to the villain, Nine, but given his stats at the end of the movie, it seems unlikely that a character so integral to the finale of the series would be taken off the board. This is the content that would be great to fill out this release, and seeing discussion points like this relegated to side comments seems to miss some opportunities.
You're so irritating. Way to take credit for our work.
Oh, shut up, you idiot!
Time to find out which one's more powerful. Leo, bring it on!
One of the great joys of being a fan of Japanese animation in recent years is the fact that, well, a significant chunk of society has also become fans. With this in mind, it's not impossible to get theatrical releases in theaters in the States, when theaters are generally safe to attend. That in mind, I've been able to see mainstream efforts like the My Hero Academia movies, tearjerkers like I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, and one-off Studio Ghibli films like The Secret World of Arrietty in theaters. And then there's Promare, a film that's a vaporwave visual assault for almost 2 hours, one that is so unrelenting that when it's over, you'll want more, you'll want the soundtrack, and you'll just want to watch it again. That's where this collector's edition comes in, stacked with trinkets and special features, but all of this means nothing if the movie's not good. Set in a nebulous near future, advanced firefighting forces use mecha and other super tech to put out fires that both man and Burnish make. The Burnish, a group of Marvel-inspired mutants, if all of them have the power of chamber, are hated and feared by many due to the destruction they rained on the world 30 years ago.
I don't get it. Why would I have turned into a Burnish?
To combat the fires, Burning Rescue is called.
Burning Rescue! Dispatch!
To combat the Burnish, Freeze Force is called in.
Hold it. We're authorized to deal with the Burnish in a fire emergency. That exception gives us jurisdiction.
Guess who judges whether that applies or not? This guy.
The two sides come to clash over jurisdiction, but the movie paints no picture that isn't Freeze Force are overly aggressive, Burning Rescue are your heroes. This is easily exemplified by the motley cast of characters that assemble Burning Rescue, and all of this seems to be cribbed from other notable works. It's hard not to see a bit of Kamina in our heroic main character, Gallo, nor is it impossible to see Trunks or even a bit of Yoko mixed with Misty in the cast. They're all bright and shiny anime heroes, while Freeze Force are dark and oppressive grunts. And then you have Mad Burnish, the gang of mutants that, as not much of a surprise, turn out to be more anti-heroes than anything. Their leader, Leo, who catches my eye as Remy from Street Fighter 3 more than anything, is the dark leader of the team that wants freedom for his people.
Do you think the government would allow that?
We don't need their permission. All we need is power. And we have it.
It's no big spoiler to point out these two leading men of their respectively heroic teams will have to team up and work together to face a bigger threat. With the fate of the Earth literally hanging in the balance, Gallo and Leo will have to combine their forces to pave a better future for their society. The movie is a visual stunner, painting vaporwave aesthetics over some great usage of CG when necessary, hand-drawn animation when practical. The colors are bright and vibrant, and the whole work shines brighter and is more visually creative than Pixar's 2020 output, for example, and beyond more traditional Japanese anime works that hit theatrical screens, like My Hero Academia. The voice cast is rounded out by a number of classic voice actors, with the easiest to recognize being Johnny Young Bosch, Kari Wahlgren, and Steve Bloom. The latter two I've had the awesome experience of introducing at MomoCon. You guys remember conventions, right? Audibly, the soundtrack is a blast, with some music I'd be afraid of posting on YouTube, but you'll be glad you picked up the collector's edition if only for the soundtrack. Speaking of that collector's edition, There's a few different versions of this release, but the true highlight is the collector's edition. Promare is such an energizing soundtrack that it's hard not to recommend putting some of these tracks into your iTunes collection. Additionally, the collector's edition features a few physical extras. A mini poster, decal sticker, and a copy of the English script are all neat bonuses that you don't see with every anime release, and help show your love for the movie outside of a DVD shelf. Lastly, a booklet includes character bios, interviews, and the like with neat tidbits. Did you know that 2 of the creators first worked together on R.E. Cutie Honey, a great OVA that we somehow never got in America? Or that Pixar helped out a bit, and certain bits are direct homages to Ultraman? Even with a few typos, it's a great addition to go through once. Universally in the Blu-ray, you have a basic selection of trailers, interviews with the Japanese production team, director, and the American voice cast. None of these cover too much ground than what's included in the booklet, but it's always a treat to see American voice cast make appearances in US releases.
My favorite kind of pizza?
Hey, isn't he a Power Ranger? The most notable feature on the disc is 2 short stories that function as a prologue for the movie. Side Gallo and Side Leo look at the early days of Gallo joining the team and how a new girl joins Mad Burnish, and both tie into some unexplained bits from the movie.
He really is an idiot.
You're not going to kill them. That's not the way we Burnish are.
Nice exclusive, these show how a Premiere TV show could conceptually work, and only make the lack of one all the more painful.
I gotcha! We'll never let you lay a finger on a Burnish! Count on it, Popsicle!
This program is brought to you by the support of members of the Tsundoku Zone Patreon.
I'm rated stock Carl Olsen, but when I represent for Kirkland, I'm known as Ultraklystron.
Did you see any movies or shows that you'd like to check out? Did I horribly miss the mark? Has time been kinder to these discs than I thought back then? Come track me down and yell your thoughts. Until then, that's it for the Tsundoku Zone, but the stack never ends.